Good afternoon and welcome back to the West Ham Network in association with XKUMB.com. Today's Hammers headlines is a Europa League special, the eve of the Europa League first leg semi-final against Eintracht Frankfurt. I am buzzing. I'm over the moon. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to get down there. Bags are packed. Getting on the train really early in the morning. Got some family members coming with me. A little boy's coming. He is absolutely buzzing, over the moon, and I am excited. If you haven't already, you need to go and check out a couple of pieces of content that myself and Russ have done recently. Earlier on today, we had none other than the legend, David Psycho Cross, on the channel. He came on with me and he had a little chin wag all about Europa League football. He brought into the equation his own European experience for playing for West Ham. Again, the only West Ham United player to be able to score a hat-trick in a European fixture. So he came in and he brought in and gave us some good advice and gave us some good knowledge on what the players will be thinking ahead of the game. Go and check out Russ's video last night regarding the Noble era, where fortunately we managed to get Jimmy Walker, who also came on the channel, to give us his little bit of insight. And the things, everyone's buzzing in and around West Ham right now, and I can't believe we're at that stage where the game is actually here. And I honestly, it feels like I'm rewinding slightly back to when I was a little kid, going to Upton Park week in and week out with the family, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd have my routine, and I just couldn't wait to get to the Portakabins, to the shop, get in there and spend my money in that shop, and then get into the stadium and have that euphoria feeling. And I'm getting that feeling, I've got the goosebumps. So we are certainly ready to rock and roll. Like we always do though, if you are new, you have to hit the subscribe button. That will notify you then when we are doing shows as we go along. So go and check out the daily. Like I said, we'll have a preview later on as well. But we will get started on today's show. And it's going to be a little bit different because it's a Europa League show. And we've got lots of content to put out there. So I thought we'll cover 3 stories, but predominantly we'll probably do the David Moyes press conference. So as we know, he does a press conference on the lead up to these big games. And it was him and Mark Noble that took part in the press conference. And there's a couple of key stories that came out of the press conference today. And that was, there was an update regarding Kurt Zouma and Angelo Ogbonna. And on top of that, we spotted one young player training with in the open training session today. And as you can see him in the top right-hand corner, Alese has been training with the squad. So it's all potential exciting times ahead. But I'm going to bring you the David Moyes press conference. So we're just going to go straight into it. And I'm going to take this off it for you. So Moyes was straight in there and asked about the team news. He says, we've got most people available at the weekend that were available at the weekend available again. And we've got some people making good recoveries, but we don't know if they'll be ready yet. Angelo Ogbonna's back. He only came back this week. When I say back, I mean back in the building. So I would be amazed if he played before the end of the season. Kurt Zouma's back doing some light work. He's ahead of schedule, which is really good. And Ogbonna Diop is actually doing quite well as well. He just feels a little better than we first hoped. So there's a bit of positivity around those players. And because of that, it's given us a bit of positivity. It won't be quite as long as we thought it would be. I never rush players back. It's always better to make sure that they're right. So we would only put players out if we thought they were trained and we thought fit and ready to play. So interesting was that obvious news that, you know, we're getting updates there from Ogbonna and Zouma, but it does look like these guys are bouncing back and recovering quicker. So something's obviously working within the training regime. Maybe it's their diets that they're doing under David Moyes. So I think that's a sign that we'll see players maybe not back for the Frankfurt game tomorrow, but maybe back for the second leg moving forward. I'd be intrigued to hear if Zouma can make the second leg against Frankfurt, which will be interesting. But what does that mean for our young players? Alese, like we have seen here, was training with the first team squad today. So I'm intrigued to see what he will do with regards to him. A lot of stuff, a lot of momentum building up in the press. A lot of his friends are starting to tweet some stuff. You know, he's got his haircut in preparation for the Thursday thing. You never know. So we'll have to wait and see what actually happens moving forward into the game. Then Moyes went on and spoke about the game importance. We all know about the game importance. He said, I think that I've got a lot of games under my belt, but this one is right up there with so many others. This, at the moment, is the most important one it's the next one. He then goes and says more about it. He says, I want a good performance and a good result, first of all. I was talking earlier about the quarterfinal games where our game was 1-1 against Lyon after the first leg, and Frankfurt were 1 each against Barcelona. The only game which was open was Rangers against Braga. It seemed to be the second legs that opened it up, and it absolutely did. And how good would it be if West Ham could go ahead and try and bounce and hit the ground running in the first leg? That would be a really thing, and I think it's really important for the fans, again, as we know, to turn up tomorrow evening at the London Stadium. Moyes, on the big teams, he was asked, he says, I think in the main our home form this year is pretty good. We've had some good results. It's good to be nervous. It makes you realise the level of the game, but you want the players to play with confidence and do a lot of things naturally in the game. It's a great game. We're hugely excited by it. The thrill of qualifying last year was great. If you would have said to us last year you'd be in the semi-finals with a chance of getting to the final, I'd have said you're joking. I think we're worthy of it. Beating Tottenham, Liverpool, Chelsea shows that on our home patch, on our day, we're a good match for any team. I completely agree with everything that Moyes has said there. I would never anticipated we'd have got to this level, especially in the Europa League, the semi-finals, and still playing European football at the end of April, going into May. We're going to be playing European football in May. Nobody, I don't know really many people that would have thought that, to be honest with you. So it is massive for West Ham, of course. So next up is Moyes on his achievements. He was asked, I honestly thought if I could get it going, I'd have a team challenging near the top of the league. I always felt it could get a chance to get it done. On the journey, you need to make sure your recruitment is good. Sometimes you need bits of that for all of that to happen. Is it by luck, by plan or design? Sometimes you need a bit of both. I always felt that I could get going here. I could get a team challenging. The job to keep it going is the hardest bit. We can't dwell on how well we did last year. We've got to try and do it again this year. Hopefully we can finish well and not dwell on that this year. And again, it goes down to the fact that I completely agree with everything he's saying. And go back to the beginning of the season, for me, what's progression? Going reasonably far in Europe, trying to win a cup in one of the other competitions and doing ourselves a bit of justice in the Premier League. We've not won a cup in the domestic leagues, but we could win the European Cup, which would be absolutely mind-boggling, and we're in the top 7 as it stands. For me, that's progression. I'll take that. But I want more. Obviously, we want more as West Ham fans. So I'll move into the next segment of the press conference, and that is what he was asked, which is this. He was asked about the stadium and savouring moments. He says, you want to make sure as a manager you can give the supporters something back. On top of that, from our point of view, there's been a togetherness among the club, supporters and players, and I think you can see that growing. If we can get London Stadium the way it was the night we played Sevilla, it'll take some doing. I'm going to try, but the games are on you so quick. We've got another game in 3 days' time. To embrace it in football is very hard. We'd love to have a bask in the glory of Lyon, but we can't. We had to quickly get into the next game in the Premier League. You don't have any real time. If you're going to be a regular challenger, you have to get used to doing that. So I don't think I've had loads of time to sit back and celebrate. You don't really get a chance to turn off because the job is still consuming. Now, the amount of games the teams have to play is really tough, but I wouldn't want it any other way, and I don't think the players want it any other way. And that's exactly true. We want to get that stadium rocking and rolling because the atmosphere at Sevilla was electric. And when Jared Bowen scored that goal at home against Lyon, it was electric. And we know what we can do in that stadium. The ball, the sound can travel. And that's exactly what we want to achieve in there as well. So next up, he was asking about the belief in the squad. He was saying, I think probably if we go back winning in Zagreb, that was probably the toughest away game in the group we have. And we went there and played really well. And that gave us a lot of confidence. At that time, we made the choice to split the team a little bit. And I think that working as well helped the morale, made sure everybody knew that they would play their part in it. Declan was just back from European final, and the Czech boys had just come back from the Euros as well. Suddenly, we had started to have an international group of players, and we have some players with that level of experience, and we have it in abundance. Players playing left, right, and centre all the way through their international career. And now when we come to international breaks, we've got 8, 9, 10 players out there, and a lot of our young players have gone as well. So when it comes to the training, we've not got many players at the training facility, but that experience does breed into the squad, and you can see the belief the squad have got. It's really nice to see, and it does, emulate out onto the park. But you should really honestly go back and check out the West Ham Daily I did earlier today with David Cross, because he does talk a lot about that as well. Next up, though, David Moyes was Mark Noble was brought into the equation and asked a couple of questions in the press conference. And he said, he was talking about the occasion. He said, did I imagine it? Yes. Did I think it would happen? Probably no. This season for me, after announcing it would be my last, has been pretty special. But as I keep saying, it's not over yet. We've got an incredible game tomorrow night, and then we've got another bigger game in a week's time. To be able to enjoy that with the fans and players who have got us to this position and the whole staff at this place and at the stadium, it's an incredible achievement and something we're all looking to. And I think, you know what, when Mark Noble announced he was retiring, it depends on the fan base and the fan that you were. Every West Ham fan would be gutted for him. But to potentially sign off your season with a cup run in Europe like we're doing right now would be a phenomenal achievement, especially for Mr. Mark Noble. So next up, he was asked about the players. He says, sometimes you get an incredible mix of talent, hard work, honesty, a group of players who've got no egos and work for each other, a manager that doesn't let anything slide and demands hard work and has put a philosophy in place. If you don't work hard, you don't play. We've seen that in 2 years since we've been back, and it's worked. We've also got some very good players along the way, and a real credit to the players who have got us in this position. He goes on and talks about the first leg. He says, I think if you look at it, how we've looked at every game this season, going into every game with no detail overlooked from the opposition, the way the manager approaches every game is the same. We've looked at Frankfurt since we've played Chelsea on Sunday, and we'll look at them again in the morning and obviously get ready for the game. I'm pretty sure with the atmosphere tomorrow night and the team we've got, will be in the game for when we go to Frankfurt. But we've got to treat every team with respect because you don't get this position without having a good side. I completely agree with everything he says there. There's been many a time in West Ham's history that we've never treated the opposition with respect, and that sometimes goes against us. So Moyes is obviously starting to transition the players' mindsets, and that is what benefits West Ham when we turn up to these big games. This is like a big opportunity for West Ham. You know, just turning up in Europe and trying to get through the group stages was the first task. To get to the semi-finals is amazing. And it's only but going to do not just the first team players a huge amount of confidence, but all the younger players that have featured Sonny Perkins, Dan Chesters, Alese, Jamal Baptiste, Forson when they played the last game of the group stages as well. Mark Noble then went on to say a few more things, and that was on his memories. He said, I've been asked so many times now if I'd changed my mind on retiring, but the reason we'd get into the Champions League is by winning the Europa League. Winning Europa League and lifting the trophy, would I come back? No. That's my honest answer. To end on that would be pretty special. If that did happen, I'd happily come and watch the Champions League games with the Europa League trophy on the next chair. But that's the way down the line. It's about concentrating on tomorrow night. I mean, I'm kind of welling up here. I thought it's ridiculous, really, isn't it, when you think about what I've just said? But it's so true. The thought of Mark Noble and us as West Ham fans sitting there as European champions. I don't want to get carried away, but you can't help it. We're in the semi-finals now, so we're entitled to get carried away. Every team that's in the semi-finals are. And Mark Noble to potentially sign off his season, I mean, it would go down. Honestly, it would be, I don't know, unthinkable, but it would be such a great achievement from West Ham as well. He was then asked about his career. He went on and said that in different aspects and different moments I've had, this is probably one of the most important because it's at different stages. Getting promoted or staying in the Premier League is so important. But for the pure enjoyment and atmosphere, Sevilla at home would be hard to beat. But tomorrow night will be pretty special. I don't think I've ever looked forward to a game in my career so much, and to be able to celebrate that in an occasion with my own fans is pretty special. He goes on and he bigs up David Moyes. He said he doesn't lack in honesty. If you're not doing it, he will tell you. And that's me, Deck, or any other player in the squad, whether you get on with a manager or not. If they're honest with you, they respect that. The last couple of years he's been back, I haven't played as much as I've done in the past because of the few reasons, but my relationship with the boss has not changed. We talk about the team. We talk about the football regularly, and it's partly my job as well to stop things getting it to his office because he's got a massive football club and a lot of players to manage. As a captain, it's my job to tidy up the rubbish before it gets to him, and literally he physically means tidy up the rubbish because we all know what he did that day after the game when he actually turned up into the changing room and actually did physically tidy away the rubbish. But the man oozes utter class, and that breeds through the rest of the squad, whether he plays or he doesn't. And he's been pivotal. He's been a good reason. He's done well when he's came on the park this year. We've managed Mark Noble this year a lot better than we've ever done over the last couple of years, and we're getting the best out of what he can achieve. And that's why you can see he's flourishing and enjoying himself at West Ham just now. And then the last one, there was a few more, but I wanted to pick out specific things from the press conference, and I felt this was a nice one to end on. He was talking about the fans, and he said, you know, talking about the away fans, the Frankfurt fans are a fantastic bunch of fans. I think we've gathered that, especially in Europe over the last few years. But the London Stadium has turned into a fantastic place to play for us. It's taken a bit of time for it to gel, but you need massive nights like we've had this year to cement in that home turf. But the games in Europe this season have done that, and the boys are so excited for tomorrow night. And that leads me to, you know, it's what an opportunity we've got tomorrow night to try and put one foot into that final. It never happens like that, obviously, when you've got two legs. You can go 3-0 up and it can all switch and change around in the second leg, but let's try and give ourselves a bit of an easy ride if we possibly can. Frankfurt by no means are a team we shouldn't disrespect. We should respect them. They've beat Barcelona. They're unbeaten in the competition so far, so we need to turn up on the day and do the job that we need to do. If you are new around here, leave your comments in from everything I've said. I've spoken about Alese training with the first team. Good news regarding Zouma and Ogbonna and their injury updates. Probably a bit too early for the Frankfurt game, but one of them might be back for the away leg for Frankfurt if the training keeps going in the trajectory that it is. I've spoken to you about the David Moyes press conference ahead of the big match tomorrow evening. Join me 9 o'clock tonight. West Ham, Frankfurt preview. We'll get you engaging as much as we possibly can. Thanks for joining me. Stay safe and come on, you Irons.